Hello, I'm Alan, and welcome to today's edition of Alan's Cycling Adventures. We might get lucky with the weather, we shall see, but I'm prepared for the worst just in case. We are headed to Albuquerque today. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas for future editions of Alan's Cycling Adventures, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Well, without further ado, let's ride. Wow, tonight was another night of a epic nap. I said I wasn't going to nap. I said I was going to get this video done first. I said I was going to do the blog first. And I said I was going to just go to bed after all of that. And I got my notes ready for the voiceover and felt really tired and thought, you know what, a half-hour nap will clear my head and then I'll be ready to do this voiceover. And once again, a half-hour nap is more like 2.5 hours. So I'm posting this a little late, and we'll post the blog post probably by the time I finish. It might even be a little after midnight, even though I'm getting up early. But I guess it doesn't matter if the sleep is contiguous or not, as long as I get it. Besides, tomorrow we get to Santa Fe for the second rest day, which means I get to really sleep in the next morning. Anyway, some thoughts on this ride. You probably noticed that I left out of the hotel pretty early. You didn't see the whole contingent in front of me like you've seen in past videos. And that's because I did things a little bit differently this morning. I actually, when I got downstairs and I got my bike ready to go and I recorded the intro for this video, I went ahead and signed out and just kind of estimated the time that I'd be leaving. That way, you know, when we finish the briefing, I don't have to wait in a long line and wait to sign out, and then everybody's out in front of me. And what ends up happening when I do that is everybody tends to keep together for the first several miles. And it makes me feel like I need to keep up. And that's not good for me. I need to just ride my pace. In terms of what my pace is, we tend to leave in two groups. There's a group that leaves out at 7 a.m., and there's a group that leaves at 7:30 a.m. Presumably, the slower riders are in the 7 a.m. group, and the faster riders are in the 7:30 group. Well, my natural pace is sort of the slowest of the fast riders. And it's kind of funny because a number of the riders in the 7 a.m. group have commented to me about, wow, you're really fast. Wow, you're really strong. But not compared to the 7:30 group. Those guys and gals are serious cyclists. Some really amazing people in this group. Anyway, so I felt like that worked for me. I think I'm going to try that again tomorrow. I said in the intro maybe we would get lucky weather-wise. We kind of did most of the day. But between the departure and the first SAG stop, we definitely did not get lucky. When we pulled out, it was already drizzling a little bit, even though Strava's weather report doesn't mention the rain. It definitely was drizzling when we left. And it was kind of off and on. But on the way to the first SAG, when we got to the point where we were riding along a bike path, the clouds just opened up and it was a downpour, and it was a cold downpour. And so by the time we got to the SAG, everybody was soaked to the bone and freezing cold. And I didn't have leg warmers on. And so my legs were cold. I just was cold and miserable. I go inside to use the bathroom, and everybody's hanging out, drinking coffee, drinking hot chocolate, warming up. People are trying to dry their clothes in the bathroom, and I just thought about it and said, if I do that, I'm not going to want to get back out on the road. So I'm better off just spending as little time at this sag as possible and get back out there. Don't warm up, just get back out there into the cold, into the elements, and go. And so that was what I did. And that also worked well for me, but for a different reason. I got to the second sag stop fairly early. There were a group of people who beat me there, but I was probably in the first third to reach that second sag. And I went about my business, had something to eat, grabbed, refilled my water, all of that stuff, used the bathroom, and went to check my tires, and lo and behold, my back tire wasn't flat, but it was soft, just a little soft. And I thought about it for a few minutes. Do I just pump it up? Do I change it? And I finally succumbed to reason and went ahead and changed it. And it was a good thing because I found a wire in the tire. And so I changed it. I pulled the wire out, and as of now at 10:24 p.m., both tires are still holding air. So my flat count now is up to 5 for this trip. Anyway, the trip, I left at 7:32 a.m. this morning, bound for Albuquerque. According to Strava, the weather was cloudy and 46 degrees with a feels like temperature of 44. The humidity was 80%, and the wind was 3.1 miles per hour from the north-northwest. The ride length was 79.29 miles, and I rode it at an average moving speed of 15.3 miles per hour, and I had a maximum speed of 35.7 miles per hour. I had a total moving time of 5 hours, 11 minutes, and 17 seconds, and an elapsed time of 6 hours, 57 minutes, and 6 seconds. My average heart rate today was 120 beats per minute with a max heart rate of 139. And according to Strava, I burned 1,785 calories. My average cadence was 64 RPM, and my max cadence was 119. We had a total elevation gain on this ride, according to Strava's map data, of 2,104 feet. And according to Garmin, it was 2,057 feet. I had a total of 18,313 pedal strokes. And according to Strava, my average power output was 81 watts. In terms of climbs, there was just one Garmin climb on this route. The start was at 61.3 miles in, which was after the second sag. It was 1.5 miles in length. We gained 331 feet with an average gradient of 4%. In terms of the route, it was leading up to the first sag, it was on historic Route 66. Then between the two sag stops, it was on I-40. We did about 30 miles on I-40, which I think was where I picked up that wire. And speaking of after the second sag, one of the other good things about my having gotten there fairly early was after I changed the flat, even though most of the people had already left, I still had time to stop for food and chocolate milk when I entered Albuquerque, which was really fun because there was this long downhill leading into Albuquerque, and I was just screaming down that hill, although I had to take it somewhat slow because there were traffic lights. It was a long run into the hotel, much longer than I expected, but it is what it is. In terms of the towns we passed through, we started, of course, in Grants. We went through Anzac, McCarty's, San Fidel, Cubero, Cima, Paraje, Laguna, which was where the first SAG was, Mesita, Tojajile, I think is how it's pronounced, Albuquerque West, and finally Albuquerque. Albuquerque, by the way, is huge. In fact, the second SAG, which was about 20 miles from the hotel, has an Albuquerque mailing address. Anyway, you can see in the video the run-in to the hotel. Along the way, I ran into another rider. I started following him, and he stopped at one point and said, "This such and such street should be here any minute." And I told him how much further it was, and I got ahead of him. And at some point, I ended up losing him and was relieved when I saw him pull up at the hotel. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, I made it to Albuquerque. That was a long run into the hotel. Anyway, until next time, stay safe out there.